there, my people of Homo sapiens. It is Lisa, and today I have a review for you guys. I've had this palette for 3 months now. I bought it in December, and for the first month I just used it and only it. And then in January I kind of slowed down, and then in February I started using it again just so that I have different intake or different opinions, or if anything changed I can tell you guys. So if you want to see, just keep watching. Here we go, let's go. First and foremost, we are going to go over the basics of this palette, and this palette retails for $53. You are getting 20 eyeshadows in here. There are 16 mattes, and there are 4 on the ends here that are considered luxury or duochromes. For sure they are not duochromes. Oh, I've been holding this palette backwards. Okay, so the packaging is a very nice, sturdy packaging. I really love the packaging. And it's not magnetic. It has a clasp, or like a closure. You can hear it click when you close it. And it have a very nice mirror inside. A very nice, generous, big mirror. So as you can see here, these are the 16 mattes and the 4 shimmers. These are definitely not duochromes. Maybe Trendy is a little bit. That's the only one that I see that have like 2 colors. But besides that, I don't think it's duochromes. I have created 5 different looks using this palette. The reason that I created 5 different looks is so that I can have more experience with this palette and know exactly what I like and don't like about this palette, so I can do this review for you guys. Because this palette is set up so that you can create looks across the rows, that's exactly what I did. For the swatches, I did apply foundation on my arms. My arms are really like vein. I don't know how to say it correctly, but you can see the vein through my arms, so I always apply 1 layer of foundation just to cancel out any yellowness and veinness on my arms. I want to let you guys know that on my swatches, I laid down the shades with finger swatches first. So what you're seeing me do is laying down the brush swatches. So how about we go into the swatches, and then we'll go into the lookbook, and I will tell you guys my final thoughts at the end. Okay? Here we go, let's go. The first shade here is called Classic, and it is a matte light beige with yellow undertones. This first row do run a little bit more on the warmer side. And as you can tell, this is my first time swatching it, so I did not have the technique, but later on I'll tell you guys what I did to improve my technique. Okay, now we have Innocent. Innocent is a matte medium brown with rosy undertones. So basically this is kind of like your peach shade. Whimsy is a matte red brown with warm undertones. So basically this is the brick shade of this palette. I do notice that the darker shades tend to be a little bit more patchy, as you can tell for Smoked. Smoked is just a matte dark brown. With these darker, patchier shade, I will have to say that maybe use your fingers to put it on your eyes and then blend it out with a brush. The first shimmer shade here is Ethereal, and it is a metallic golden copper shade. I do notice that the shimmer shades are more pigmented than the matte shades, and you do have to work a little bit harder with the matte shades. This is the picture swatch, and then this is me wiping off the shadows. Going to row 2. Row 2 definitely have more cool undertones. So with that being said, Vintage do have cool undertone. This is a matte pinkish and white color. I can't really explain it, but it does have pink and white, but it's not light pink. Then we have Fierce. Fierce is a muted matte purple. I do think, I personally see that it's like a taupey purple shade. And as you can tell, the deeper shades are a little bit more patchier, or like you have to build it up more. This is no filter. It is a matte dark red plum. This one do have warm undertones instead of cool. And so this is kind of like a cranberry shade. Next is Vamp. Vamp is a matte black purple. This one do have a neutral to cool undertone. A tip for you guys, instead of swiping the cologne, kind of pat it on like this to get more opacity. So the second shimmer shade we have is called Glam. This is a metallic, light, medium gold, depending on your skin tone. For row 3, we are going back to the warm tones. First we have Chic. This is a matte medium peach with pink undertones. These shadows are super soft and they can get muddy, but with the right eye primer and the right brushes, you are able to create a nice look, and I will talk about that more later. Now we have Pro Fresh, and this is a matte taupe with warm undertones. And I do notice what I really like about this palette is that they have a lot of transition shades. I'm pretty sure you guys can tell too by just looking at the palette. This shade here is a matte deep cherry. I really wish this shade show up better on my eyes, because when I put this on my eyes, it's not that nice red. Okay, now we have Drama. Drama is just a matte maroon shade. And again, with these darker shades, you want to pat it on, which I'm showing here too. And you do not want to swipe it on. It ain't gonna go on your eyes like that. Or you can use your fingers as well. But even using fingers, it's still patchy. This is the third shimmer, and this is called Minx. This is a metallic medium brown with red undertone. It's a very nice shade. This shade almost looks duochrome, but not quite. Moving along to row 4, this row again is a much cooler row. I noticed that I did swatch off, but I will move my arms up. I'm so sorry about that. But this shade is a matte light taupe, and this is ND. Next we have Bold. Bold is a matte light brown. See what I mean by I say I have a lot of nice transition shades? Anyways, I really do love the shade selection for this palette, and I will talk more about it later. Okay, then we have Edgy. Edgy is a matte chocolate brown. This bottom row is the row for your smoky eyes, and it is a row for if you want the grunge look. I do really like this palette. I love all the shades in here. Okay, we have Punk. Punk is a matte black with cool undertones. And again, these darker shades you have to work. The last shimmer shade here is called Trendy. This is a teal metallic red brown shade with cool undertones. I do notice that this particular shade is a lot more dry than the other shimmer shades, and because this is a big palette, the formula is inconsistent. For the first look, this row is a very warm tone, like I mentioned in the swatches. I used the Essence eye primer. I really love this eyeshadow base. This is probably my 4th or 5th time repurchasing this, so that's why I use this one first. Let me show you guys quick what the look was, and then I'll explain to you if I liked this or not. With this eye primer, the eyeshadows applied very nicely. I was pretty impressed. But because the shadows are so soft, it gets very muddy, and it kind of seems like the eyeshadow melts into each other, you know? So I kind of did go in with my fingers and I have to reapply it. But I feel like this primer did, I guess you can say, okay. For the second look, which is the second row, which is a much cooler tone row, I use the e.l.f. primer. I think this is There's no name on it, it just says sheer, so it's just this primer. Let me show you guys the look. As you can see the look, I decided to go like a grayish purple type of look. But anyways, this primer was no good. Like right away I can tell that I was starting to like not be able to blend at all. It was uneven and it was patchy. So I gotta say right off the bat, this is my least favorite primer for this palette. For the third look, which is the third row, I decided to go with more of a burgundy fall makeup look, which is this look right here. I use the NYX Jumbo Pencil in Milk, and by the way, this is by far my favorite primer. It just applied the shadows very nicely and very opaque. I did not have to go in with my fingers to reapply. With the last two primers, I have to go in, kind of like pat the color in and like, stay please. And today's look, I use this again because this is my favorite primer for this palette. For the fourth row, or the last row, I decided to go in with concealers because when I first started doing makeup, all I used was concealers. And I decided to use two different ones. This is the Wet n Wild one, and then on the other side of my eye, I used the Naked Skin. Where is that one? I have the Born This Way here. Let me grab the Naked one. On one side, I used the Naked Skin, and on the other side, I used Wet n Wild. And I have to say, concealer is number 2. So this is the next best primer, and it's actually this one that beats. I will show you guys the look. I did a very fun cut crease look because I kind of want to change up these looks to give you guys an idea of what you can create with this palette. So let's look at the look. Like I mentioned earlier, this was pretty good. I think because this one is kind of sticky. It's a thicker type of concealer and it is a little bit tacky, so maybe that's how it performed better than the Naked Skin by Urban Decay. But I do recommend this if you don't have any jumbo pencil. The very first thing I want to put out there is the reason why I bought this palette. I bought this palette because I fell in love with the shade selection. My sister actually had this palette, and when I looked at it, I was like, no way, I need this in my life. So I didn't really get thrown in because of, like, you know, the hype or whatnot. I got thrown in because of the shade selection. Like, if you look at this palette, you just look at it, like, I'm like, oh my gosh, I've never wanted a palette so bad because of the shade, you know? So that's basically number 1 reason why I bought it, which is probably not the best reason, but I really did get it because of that. The number 2, the packaging, like a big mirror, black and gold, like you can't go wrong with that. So number 1 is shade selection. Number 2, it was the packaging. That's really the reason why I bought it. I do not own any Tarte palettes. I've seen Tarte palettes and it doesn't, you know, it doesn't give me that wow factor. Like the colors just look like every other neutral palette, but this palette had me, you know. So that's why I bought it. Now I'm gonna tell you guys what I think about it now, after 3 months, okay? After giving this palette some time, I realized that it's pretty high maintenance. You have to use a certain type of primer for it to stick, and again, these are the top 2 for me. Just keep in mind that you can use any shade from this line. I just happened to use this one when I started doing makeup, so I have just used this one forever. Not this exact same one, I've repurchased, but I've noticed that you have to use higher quality brushes too, because I guess the shadows are so soft, it's gonna melt into each other and you're not gonna get that pigment you want. But if you use the right brushes as well, you will get the right pigment. Number one recommended brush from me to you if you want this palette is the Crown Stiff Shader Brush. This is the one in C510. This is the one I use to swatch. I've heard people ask questions that how do you pick up the shimmers? My brush is not picking up the shimmers. This thing picks it up. I kind of think it's because it's a stiff shader brush, but let me just remind you. Okay, so this is on my brush and I'm going to swatch it. My hands are a little bit dirty. I'm going to swatch it right here. You can see that it is on. It is on, and you will be able to pick up these shades. Pick up a matte brush. Look at that. Not matte brush, matte shade. Look at that. It will pick up this shade for you on your lids. So you gotta pick this up. And then for blending brush, I do notice that I have to use my Sigma brushes to make it work and to make it not patchy and to make it look okay or right and not too muddy all over. So today's look, I did use a couple shades, and because I have the technique and these, not skills, but maybe some skills too, but the technique and the right tools, I have created this nice look. So like I mentioned, this palette is a little bit high maintenance. You have to work with it. And to be honest, because I have it for a while, I don't reach out for this palette as much as I did, okay? Just because I have to work a little bit harder, and I'm a very busy person, that's probably number one thing. But I still reach this palette when I have more time, like on the weekend. I'd be like, yes, that's my friend on the weekend. But I'm in a rush or on the weekday, I'd be using like Water Renaissance because I have so much pigment that I don't have to go look for these two, or I don't have to use my higher end brushes. I just go ahead and grab whatever and just ta-da, you know. Hopefully I'm not rambling and that you are getting something from me talking. So my final thoughts are, if you don't like to have that high maintenance type of palette, then this is not for you. If you're not good with your blending game, then this is probably not for you as well. So if you're just starting out in makeup, there's plenty of products out there more affordable and kind of similar to this one. So you don't really need this palette. But if you're like me, where you are a little bit better with makeup and you do have the tools you need and have the time on the weekends, then go ahead and get this palette. Even after couple months, I still really love the shade selection. I don't regret buying this palette at all, but I just want to be honest that it is a little bit high maintenance. Here's a recap for you guys before I go. This is the full palette. So what you're seeing here is all the shades, all the 20 shades of this beautiful palette. I still can't get over how gorgeous these shades are. These are the looks that I created with this palette. Keep in mind that I created other looks with this palette as well. I just didn't take a picture of it. But these are the ones that I have pictures of. Okay guys, that is the end of this palette review. And subscribe to my channel, please, because it helps motivate me to, you know, keep going. Hope you enjoyed this video, find it somewhat helpful. I will see you guys next time. Thank you guys so much for watching. Bye!